You will find herein a presentation on Health Insurance Co. HIC. HIC is committed to providing insurance to the hundreds of thousands of international visitors visiting Australia each year, whom both have mandatory and non-mandatory insurance requirements. HIC acknowledge a steady decline in their sales of insurance of this nature despite the rising value in the market overall. HIC is committed to targeting long-stay business and holiday visitors with the aim to capture this growth area to increase their market share. The report will address some of the issues that affect their inability to currently successfully capture this cohort. Strategies including strengths, limitations and risks will also be explored in depth to showcase how HIC could potentially grow their business in this direction. Here I will discuss the identified issues. As reported by the Australian health insurance industry, the industry has experienced an abrupt growth in terms of market capitalisation, which can be seen through overall sales of health insurance policies, amounting to $350 million in 2016 compared to $310 million in 2015. However, although market has experienced a rising value in the overall insurance services, HIC has experienced only diminished valuation of their products and services reflected through sales amount of $75 million in 2016 compared to $90 million in 2015. One root cause that can be identified in this context is that HIC is offering the least variation in terms of their product portfolios, which is failing to capture the greatest possible spread of the consumer market. Another issue that has been more serious implications for the organisation in recent years is the increasing number of overseas and local competitors, which are entering continuously into the industry offering health insurance services to local and overseas customers with highly attractive benefits. Additionally, pricing strategy of the insurance products is not in accordance with the current requirements of the consumers. As evident from recent data, travelling and immigration expenses in Australia are on the daily increase, which is restricting people from accepting costlier insurance products. This is compounding negatively with the competitiveness of the insurance provider. It is also worthy of being mentioned that HIC management does not have an appropriate marketing strategy aligned with Australian universities to proactively capture the insurance market for their students. In most cases, it is seen that immigrating students are accompanied with travel insurances since they are not in a situation of affording expensive insurance products of Australia. This has actually resulted from increasing immigration expenses being charged by the Australian government. Notably, there are various issues prevailing within the organisation's management structure which is negatively impacting the business's ability to maintain a sustainable and competitive business environment. In relevance to this, a point of concern can be outstretched, which would be of prime concern for HIC management, as well as also being increasingly competitive within the Australian insurance sector, is local insurance service providers along with international entities are providing more flexible and lucrative insurance services that are attracting the common people. Next, I would like to introduce Tim, who will be discussing the gap statements.
Thanks, Lisa. The purpose of this report, we will look into the Cluster 1. Now, in the present state of leading health insurance, HIC has the least categories of product portfolios. The gap statement will be that the company will need to establish alliances with key stakeholders, thereby increasing product portfolios and capturing a greater share market. And the future state for this cluster is HIC needs to open discussions with high schools and university representatives, institution agents and educational advice providers regarding new product and service offerings, and investigate the possibility of forming new partnerships. Cluster 2, the present state, the competition has increased due to large international and local insurance companies' offerings and more flexible and attractive products and services to the market, resulting in a decline in market share. The gap statement is that the company will work on establishing a marketing strategy that improves targeting and allows for a capable and comprehensive delivery approach to create value. And the future state for this cluster is that HIC needs to tailor marketing strategies to focus on student market, providing a product that encompasses what a student needs in addition to health insurance, such as security, travel, accommodation, utilities, and access to networks. Okay, if we look at gap option 1, there are 43 universities that HIC has little or no affiliation with, which it has become evident in their client interview. HIC found the university market extremely hard to break into due to the periodical insurance tender process, which all 43 universities go through every 5 to 7 years. The strategy would be to target all 43 universities to become their insurance provider. Some of the strengths of this would be the benefits of targeting the university sector means that HIC could create an onboarding insurance package directly with new international and students enrolling across to the university sector. HIC can tell their story and market their symbol by having on-campus insurance kiosks, which could educate students on their insurance products and services. Each university has a dedicated insurance webpage that lists all of the insurance products available to students. HIC could benefit from marketing their range of insurance products directly on university websites. Some of the limitations would be that targeting the university sector, however, is not engaging students on a personal level and fails to make that emotional connection to the international students, which was mentioned several times in the client interview. And some of the key risks is that the tender process only generally happens every 5 to 7 years, which means if HIC is not successful, it could potentially have to wait another 5 to 7 years to target that university again. With regards to international students, the risk is that they could still not select HIC for health insurance cover, which will not increase its market share or profits. And finally, the cost of setting up university kiosks and the associated staffing requirements may not return a positive return on the investment for HIC. Okay, so option 2, we can see that the biggest growth in international students is China at 29.8% and India at 11%. This option would see that HIC endeavours to build partnerships with those governments in order to support and educate new international students on the benefits of selecting HIC for health insurance. This would entail employing local staff and having Chinese and Indian business locations. The strengths of this would be that these partnerships would be mutually beneficial, that would employ local staff while focusing on HIC's products and services. By partnering up with these governments, HIC could make the emotional and cultural connection to these international students, creating a new HIC story. There is a potential with this option to eliminate the competition by creating a brand awareness and structured marketing campaigns within each country. Some of the limitations would be that although now international, HIC's products and services could be limited in their offering, as they will need to be negotiated within the terms of agreement with these governments. There could also be legal or regulatory limitation, as HIC will need to understand the country's legislative framework around insurance products and services. Some of the risks would be that there remains a risk of negative government association. In some international students may no longer identify with some of their government's beliefs or goals, having a negative impact on HIC's brand. Similar to the previous option, there is an investment risk as the cost of investing in overseas business locations and staff might not equal increased market share. There is also a risk that the staff may not hold the HIC's values, or that these values could get lost in translation. I'm going to hand it over to Luke now to discuss the options for cluster for the GAP 2.
These two options are associated with the second gap statement and outline the strengths, limitations, and risks involved with closing this gap. Option 1 relates to information sourced during a client interview that suggests that the international student market seeking health insurance has seen significant recent growth compared with the workers' market, which has remained relatively flat. On this basis, this option explores key strategies tailored towards capturing the student market as a priority. First, to discuss this option's strengths, data obtained from the Australian Government's Department of Education and Training shows international student enrolments in higher education has been on a steady increase from 2015 to 2017, with an overall percentage increase over this period of 29.8%. The top three contributors to these figures are China, India, and Nepal. China alone constitutes over 38% of Australia's international student enrolments in tertiary education, which is where the focus of HIC's marketing should be directed. In addition to this focus on marketing direction, engaging with the students of these key countries prior to their arrival on Australian soil is critical to ensure the organisation is well placed to secure that majority market share. To ensure optimised engagement with these students, HIC would employ customer service staff and marketing professionals that have background and ethnicity directly related to these target countries. Using China as an example, this would involve employees that are of Chinese ethnicity, speak Mandarin fluently, and have spent a significant period of time either living in the target country as a national or have a home life that reflects primary Chinese culture. By enabling the customer base to first engage on a personal and cultural level with the organisation's staff, this develops a rapport which can allow for far more effective marketing of their product. There are notable difficulties in managing this engagement though, as cultural and dialectal differences present between Australian agents who are marketing the product and their target customers can hinder in the effective communication of the product's benefits and coverage. There also remains a lack of education surrounding the true cost of emergency medical procedures should the policyholder experience an unexpected injury, and how the total cost of such procedures must be paid for in full by the patient in the absence of any insurance policy. A notable risk associated with this option is the chance that staff employed by HIC specifically to fill this role may be deemed competent to engage with customers on a cultural level. However, the effectiveness of this connection is difficult to measure and is highly subjective. Option 2 explores how the customer perceives the product being offered in terms of value for money. Here we explore the marketing of a proposition rather than just a health insurance product. Marketing of the organisation's existing products are focusing solely on the item of health insurance, with benefits and any extras bundled with the policy purely medically related. A solution that may allow the organisation to capture and increase market share is to develop more attractive packaging options that offer an all-encompassing product that accounts for, in the case of the student market, all of the students' necessities for studying in a foreign country. This product would include for many of the students' living expenses, bundled up in a simple, transparent policy that's easy to understand and projects great value. The policy can include for an allowance for rent, travel expenses, utilities, and even a list of contacts and networks within Australia specific to the student's home country that will help the student to settle into their studies surrounded by others of similar background. The problem of foreign exchange, however, is a limiting factor when students consider studying in Australia. Comparing China, being our highest student import, and Australia, these two countries rank 65th and 13th on the Numbeo Cost of Living Index. This index compares other countries to New York City in terms of living costs such as rent, utilities, food, and entertainment, which is represented by a percentage of the cost of living in New York City. By the numbers, Australia's cost of living is approximately twice that of China. Despite this though, China still had approximately 1.39 million enrolments in higher education courses as of the 2017 year's end. This option's major risk is associated with how the policy would encompass these additional services in terms of contractual length and terms and conditions. The insurance policy itself will be required to be locked in and paid up front for the duration of the student's visa. However, it's impossible to secure a rental agreement for the same duration. The risks the student may face with a fluctuating rental market may outweigh the benefits of providing an all-inclusive solution. Given the steady market increase that's unique within the international student sector, the most logical option for HIC to increase their market share would be to focus strategies and tailor marketing towards this international student market, while simultaneously creating a cultural and emotional connection with these students before they arrive in Australia. By having bilingual service consultants, HIC can create connections on a cultural level with key countries, being China, India, and Nepal. This would also provide HIC with a communicational edge over its competitors by employing people with a better understanding of these cultures, enabling staff to better convey the benefits and more intricate details of the policy. The major action steps required of the organisation to implement this option include the following. Set a market share target to establish minimum uptakes required from the identified countries. Based off these benchmarks, the organisation can then move to ensure staffing requirements are being met. A thorough analysis of the cultural and emotional needs of international students must be undertaken. This information will be used to align the business values with those of the students, which allows for the beginnings of cultural engagement prior to direct contact with customers. Create new member service roles that are tailored to focus on ensuring staff engaging with these students have lived in their respective countries and are fluent in their language. These employees must embody all the values required to create the emotional and cultural connection. Start direct verbal communication between HIC employees and potential customers to provide education in terms of the product benefits and key elements of the policy. This process also begins to build trust between the employee and the customer, which is critical and imperative in making sales. By setting targets, undertaking a cultural analysis, and then opening communication channels to enable the customer base to engage firstly on a personal and cultural level with the organisation staff, HIC will then be well placed to build trust with the customer, ensuring increased uptake of the marketed product and an overall increase in market share.